episode 16 on the Scope podcast today. This evening, I'm joined by Dr. Dipendu Saha. Hello, Dr. Saha. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Christmas is in 2 days. Feels like yesterday I was starting my spring semester as a junior, and now all of a sudden, Christmas is 2 days away. So for a pandemic-fested year, it went by really quickly, as usual.
Yes.
So you got any plans for the holidays? You just in the lab?
Mostly in the lab and in the room, typing something or doing some experiments, mostly.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to look forward to what you have to say about your research because I know it's really interesting. For those who don't know, Dr. Saha is a chemical engineering professor here at Widener University. He does some pretty groundbreaking stuff. But before we get into that, I want to start with this. Dr. Saha, where are you from? Are you where'd you grow up?
I was from India. My city was Kolkata. Now its name is Kolkata. It is a city in the eastern part of India where I grew up and stayed before I left for United States.
How long did you live in Calcutta before you moved to the United States? I'm sorry.
I left for USA in August of 2006.
Oh, so you were there for a while.
So I was there until then.
Did you get your undergraduate degree there?
Yes, I got my undergraduate degree and master's degree in chemical engineering, both from India.
Is Calcutta, is that a big city in India? I'm not familiar with it.
Yes, it is one of the 4 metropolitan cities of India. Under the British rule, Kolkata was the capital of India. But in the year of 1913, Kolkata was New Delhi was done as the new capital of India. And after that, Delhi is still capital of India.
Now, if someone were to go visit like Calcutta, what is something maybe that someone has to go try? Like you have to go see this over in Calcutta.
There are a few things. For example, Victoria Memorial Hall is a famous bridge called Howrah Bridge on the river Ganges. And there are a few other tourist spots along the river or in the city. After I left, I think there are many things were built on also. I mean, right now I could not count. Of course, you should not forget to taste the street foods of Kolkata.
What's your favorite Indian dish? Like, what is your favorite dish that either you make yourself or you try?
Well, first of all, I am, as a background, is called Bengali, and my favorite dish is fish.
Just fish?
In Kolkata, in India, you get many fish from river. You can fry them or make curry with them out of many spices. And also my other favorite dish are kind of rice-based dish and chicken, something called biryani. Maybe you heard the name. And
I have not heard of that.
Indian food.
No. I've been to, I don't know, have you ever heard of Sherry Punjab in media?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went there several times.
Yeah. Before, I guess there's new ownership now, but before it used to be it was basically a buffet, and you would go there, and I don't know how authentic it is, but I thought it was delicious. The chicken tikka masala is always my favorite dish.
Yeah. I do not want to say any specific, but I would say that if you want to really taste a delicious and authentic food, authentic Indian food, you should go to some restaurants in Philadelphia. Like I think New Delhi restaurant or like that in Philadelphia.
I have been to New Delhi. It's in
they're awesome.
University, right?
They're awesome.
Yeah. I have been to New Delhi.
There are 2-3 restaurants in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And Sherry Punjab, I think, is not even close to them.
Yeah, well,
it's close to our home. That's true.
Well, it stinks now because Philadelphia is closed. So
yes, correct.
So now you can't even get some food. But
yes.
So you grew up in Calcutta. Now, where did you think that you're first when did you realize you wanted to become a chemical engineering major or to pursue that in your undergrad?
Yeah, my original interest grew from the subject of chemistry, not exactly chemical engineering. In the late middle school, standard 8, we began studying chemistry at school. From that time, I fell in love with that. And at the grade 10, we have to take something called an additional course, which can be any of the science or arts course like physics, chemistry, math, sociology, like that. I chose chemistry and I became even close to that. So I would say from that time, I decided that I would pursue the study in chemical sciences or chemical technology as a major.
So was your undergraduate degree then in chemistry or chemical engineering?
Chemical engineering.
And when, like, what was it about chemical engineering that you said, yeah, I really want to do that? Besides just the chemistry, because chemical engineering isn't just chemistry, right? So
Correct. What happens, the beginning of chemical engineering was started, I would say, is a bit of misunderstanding because I thought chemical engineering is just chemistry and the applied chemistry because I loved chemistry. But when I went there, I saw chemical engineering is not really chemistry, and even it is far more distant from chemistry compared to United States. The reason is that in US, at least in Widener, what I saw, whatever you learn in organic chemistry, physical chemistry, and even mathematics and physics, we completed those in the high school. And therefore, we had many more engineering courses and engineering labs in our curriculum. For example, we had separate labs for heat transfer, mass transfer, control, fuel lab, those kind of stuffs. That means you will feel that you are more distant from chemistry in Indian chemical engineering curriculum, at least in my college, compared to in the US. We have only one course on physics and chemistry in the first year, and that's it. But what happens when I was continuing chemical engineering, I thought I like it, and I liked it very much. And it continued till master's degree. But when I came to PhD, I took a project which is mainly a chemistry project. It felt like chemistry came back to me like an old girlfriend and put a gun on me and told me either marry me or I will shoot you. I had no option. I got married with chemistry for research, not for the curriculum.
that sounds like a great life.
And I like chemistry and chemical engineering both at this time.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. So where was your undergrad again?
It's something called Vidyasagar University. It's a local university in my place. It's a small college.
Gotcha. And I find it fascinating that you said that you took basically what, organic physics and all the tough chemistry courses in high school?
Yes, our primary chemistry was done in the middle school. Basic organic, alkane, CH bond, alkane, alkene, alkyne, benzene ring. Those done in middle school, and high school learned in very quite depth physical chemistry, organic chemistry, and part of inorganic chemistry.
Now, do you think
that also learn all the differential equations as well?
Gotcha. So do you think that there's like an advantage to learning like these applied sciences so early on, so that by the time you get to college, you are more adept to it? Or
correct. What happens in our time, I think same now also, the high school was 2 year, class 11 and 12. Those, I believe, are the most difficult and toughest time of my life.
Really?
I think it's more true for most of the students. No time to do anything else, even no time to eat proper food or talk to your parents. Right. So busy. But that means when you go to the college engineering curriculum, your first 1 year, 2 year becomes quite relaxing, not that much pressure in here. We learned even in thermo, up to second law of thermo, we learned in high school under physics.
Now, are we talking like they were teaching you like the applications of all these sciences, or was it like we're talking like straight math problems? Like we're talking like they gave you this problem and you have to do all these calculations, or is it more like theoretical and like you thought about what's actually happening in a system? You know what I mean?
Both ways. We had all the exams had two parts. One part was the short questions, and those were done mostly on the theoretical part. We had the other part, the longer questions. Those were the mathematical problems. And another difference was there. I don't know about the other teachers, but all the exams I give it as an open book.
Mm.
remember in transport class. But in India, there was absolutely no open books thing. In engineering, we have to memorize all the formula and the reactions and the equations.
Yeah, that seems a bit ridiculous. I mean, I think you can look up the formulas, but I think I would say now it's really more important that you're understanding like why these
Correct. I
equations
agree
are
with you.
important. Yeah. So why these equations are important and how to actually use them. So, because at the end of the day, like I mean, I think a grade's a grade. Like it is what it is. But am I actually understanding what's going on? That has to be the
I
priority.
agree with you. Yes.
Um, so okay, so you go through undergrad, you're getting your degree in chemical engineering. When did you like decide like, yeah, you know, I actually want to go get my PhD? Because you actually got your PhD in chemical engineering here at New Mexico State, right?
Correct. Correct.
So when did you come to that decision?
Yeah, I think that happened at the later part of my undergraduate curriculum.
Mm.
When I first chose engineering, I think my primary target was to get a job because in natural engineering, people get the job faster than other people. But while continuing the study, I believe from the third year or beginning of third year, I got the feelings in my mind that I want to go for the research field and go for a PhD. And that's the beginning.
Yeah. So, well, then the obvious like why go to New Mexico State, right? Like what? So how did that opportunity arise? Like how did you find out about that?
Yeah, I think at that time, all the schools I chose, it depends on my seniors in my undergraduate college where they went.
Mm.
I did not get that much of a scope to talk to other people to get their advice. So I looked for my seniors in my college where they went. I think two of them went to New Mexico State University. I applied there and I got chance. That was, I think, the main reason.
Yeah. And so, all right, so then you move over to the United States. How was that transition? I mean, I mean, it's obviously got to be like a culture shift, right? What were, when you first came over here, like, what were some of the main differences that stuck out like right away?
Well, the first difference I observed is that nobody is cooking for me. My mom used to cook for me, but there with the roommate, I and my roommate used to cook all the foods.
Yeah.
First difference, and second difference, partly in the college, the way we communicate with the other students, with the faculty is slightly different. For example, I can give you one quick example. In here, you talk to other professors like Dr. X, like Dr. Saha, something like that. In US, most of the cases we call him sir or madam.
Hmm. It's more formal.
Is very formal.
I kind of like, oh, actually, Sir Luby or Sir Saha.
They
Hmm.
call only, yeah, sometimes sir, but we call the professors mostly sir or
Oh,
madam.
okay, without their last name or
Yeah,
surname.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, I don't know if I like that now. I kind of like doctor in front of it. That's more formal. I like that more. So okay, so now you're at New Mexico State. Man, where is New Mexico State? Like, where is that in Albuquerque?
Yeah, a city called Las Cruces at the very southern end of New Mexico, very close to Mexico border.
And how's that
Albuquerque is
city?
the other school. I think that is University of New Mexico,
Yeah,
UNM, in
University of
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. So how was the city life down there? What's there to do?
It's a very small city, uh, and everything is kind of far away. It's
Hmm.
beautiful, nice mountains are there.
Hmm.
Not that cold. So still I like it. I mean, compared to Philadelphia, and that place is completely different geographical scenario.
Yeah.
Small
So,
number of people.
yeah. So all right, so you're at New Mexico State. What's your dissertation on? Like, what did you research throughout your time there?
My research was there on the adsorption of hydrogen and carbon dioxide in nanoporous materials.
Oh, that's kind of what you're doing now.
Yes, the major part of my nanoporous materials originally came from my PhD work. Now I kind of diversified the area, including many other objects into the field.
Hmm. So, so can you talk about that research a little bit? So, what did you do, and then like what were some of your conclusions?
Sure. During PhD, The adsorption of hydrogen was important because people were talking about fuel cells as fuel source. One fuel cell was PEM fuel cell, PEM, I think stands for proton exchange membrane. In that fuel cell, hydrogen is the fuel. It is called the most clean fuel source because your product is just water and you get electricity out of the fuel cell. The problem of the technology was how do you store that much hydrogen specifically for automobile applications? You can easily put a PEM fuel cell, but driving the car with the hydrogen tank is ridiculous. It's hazardous and is also costly and heavy. The purpose was somehow store hydrogen gas in other medium. There are few approaches. One approach is to store them in the nanoporous materials. I don't want to go in detailed scientific jargon, but the whole scenario is in the nano-sized pore, when a gas is adsorbed, the density of the adsorbed phase gas is much, 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 much higher compared to gas phase density at the same temperature and pressure. Essentially means, let's see if you want to store hydrogen gas at 100 bar pressure and room temperature. At this condition, density of the gas inside porous materials is much, 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 much higher compared to the bulk state at the same condition. That happens because of the physics, whatever is going on inside the pores.
And so, okay, yeah, because I know in the past, like people talked about like hydrogen fuel cells and like using hydrogen as like a fuel source, but what are the problems facing like actually making that happen, right? I mean, we talked about it a little earlier. I mean, hydrogen, I'm sure is expensive, but trying to contain it, and it's really flammable, right? So
yeah, I know there are some cars who have PEM fuel cells, but I don't think hydrogen storage is that much commercialized. The whole project is kind of dead as far the federal funding is concerned, because there is issue of the volumetric density of the materials. People develop adsorbent with very large surface area, but things the materials are very fluffy, big volume. So how can you store big volume in the cars?
Yeah.
Other approach was to store metallic hydrides, chemical storage, and heat the hydrides to form hydrogen, but they have the different sets of disadvantages. Overall, it is not that much commercially successful to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know how it would be, but while hydrogen may not be the best application of nanoporous materials,
yes,
there are other gases that would definitely work, right? And I think so. Okay, so you finished up your dissertation there. Before we get to your research, so did you go to industry at all after you graduated, or did you go right into teaching?
No, my industry experience is basically negligible. I think combining India and US, I got an industry job for twice or thrice. I either declined them or left the company after a few days of job. I simply did not like the industry. Maybe I did not go to a right industry or big industry, but I found that I do not like the industry atmosphere. I like academia better.
You got hired. You went.
Choice.
Yeah, you got hired. You went for the office for a couple of days, and then you just packed up your stuff and left.
Yeah,
that's legendary. So how did you? So then, okay, so you don't like industry jobs. Was that like your only reason you said, okay, yeah, let me go be a professor, or were there other factors?
Yes, I always wanted to come to an academia, starting from my PhD degree. So therefore, after PhD, I did a couple of postdoctoral positions, then applied for a position for faculty.
Where did you do some of your postdocs?
Right after a PhD, I'd have a short postdoc in University of Quebec at Trois-Rivières in Canada. Nice. At the province of Quebec. I was there for only 6 months. The problem was it was very cold and people do not speak English. A French-speaking village.
Yeah,
I lived there. Sorry?
I said my previous guest I had on, he's from Montreal. And basically, if you need to speak English or French, and well, a lot of cities speak French. Like that's it.
Yeah, Montreal is better. Montreal is a big city. People are bilingual. They speak both French and English. But Trois-Rivières, I think about 2 or 3 hours east of Montreal,
Okay.
and people absolutely don't speak English. I would say that sometimes they know, but they don't want to speak.
Yeah. Do they speak Indian? Is that the native language?
And they're all French speaking people. They anyway. So
Is,
after because language, yeah, go ahead.
is Indian a language, or am I being really ignorant?
No, in India, the most common language is Hindi.
Hindi. Okay.
After that, second common language is Bengali, which is my language. India has total 14 official languages.
14 languages? Is it
And
just
there are many local dialects.
yeah? Wait, why?
Because there are many provinces of India, they speak different languages.
Mm,
And the current shape of India was given by the British government when British colonized India.
yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Otherwise,
Okay, so
they
you
were
have-
independent kings and monarchs. They
yeah.
ruled different parts of India.
Mm, that makes sense. Okay, so you have a couple postdocs, and then so then how did you like arrive at Widener? Like, how did that situation come about?
Well, at the end of postdoc, I thought I would do job in a smaller university, not in a big school,
Mm,
but not too small because I wanted to do both teaching and research. So size of the Widener was good. So when Widener accepted my Widener offer, give me the offer, I accepted the position and joined Widener.
and now we're here for the big enchilada. So, what is the research you're doing here at Widener now?
Yeah, the major part of my research still nanoporous materials with various applications. I no longer do hydrogen adsorption, of course. My current project actives one is the hydrocarbon separation, which means separation of ethane, ethylene, and propane, propylene, that is alkane, alkene separation. Whenever there's any plastic, those are mostly polyethylene or polypropylene. Those are produced from ethylene or propylene. But the problem is that how do you get pure ethylene and propylene? Pure means 99.5%. Those guys are produced in majority by dehydrogenation of the corresponding alkane. That means ethylene from ethane and propylene from propane.
Mm,
But because of the reaction constants, reaction is never complete. You will get 20 to 40% conversion. So basically you have the mixture of the alkane alkene. The current process is that because they have a very small difference in boiling points, in cryogenic range, of course, you can separate by something called cryogenic distillation,
mm.
which is very similar to the normal distillation, except they boil in the cryogenic range. But the problem is that that is very expensive, very hazardous, and not sustainable at all.
Mhm.
So people started to develop the nanoporous materials to see if any particular nanoporous material or adsorbent can selectively absorb either alkene or alkane and make the separations happen.
Now, what are some like why is it important to even separate like ethane from ethylene and propane from propylene? Like why should anyone care?
Yeah, that is what I said. We can produce ethylene and propylene by the dehydrogenation of ethane or propane, but the reaction never completes.
Mm,
It is done up to 20 to 40% conversion only. So the product mixture contains a mixture of ethane ethylene or propane propylene. But you need pure 99.5% ethylene and propylene. So how to get it?
yeah,
It's only option to separate them from the mixture.
yeah, I meant like why should anyone care that you're separating propylene from propane? Not like how it's done. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ethylene is a precursor of the plastic polyethylene, and propylene is a precursor of the plastic polypropylene.
Mm,
And those plastics have very vast application in both daily life and industrial life. To produce those plastics, you need to get the monomer, the precursor, which is ethylene or propylene.
mm. Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. So so then how do you do it then? Like what do you like? How do you what do you do?
So what we proposed and got the money from American Chemical Society as a research grant. We put some specific metals, silver or copper 1, onto the porous carbon adsorbent. What those metals do, something called pi complexation. They make a complex with the pi bond of the alkene, ethylene and propylene, thereby selectively adsorbed the ethylene from the mixture of ethylene and ethane, and same for propylene. And therefore, the separation is possible.
And what have you found so far? Like, have you had any success so far?
Yes, I have one publication so far and working on the other projects. One of the projects is carried out by my senior project group this year. So far, we found that yes, it is possible to selectively adsorb ethylene and propylene from their corresponding alkane, ethane or propane.
Which metal works best? Like, which transition metal?
For the published paper, we use silver ion. In the second case, we used copper ion. Problem of copper is that copper 1 is unstable. It has a tendency to oxidize to copper 2, but copper 2 does not work. It's difficult to maintain copper 1. So far we have only one successful story of copper 1. Senior project is working on silver again because silver is much easier to work than copper.
That's do you think I could get that publication that you have already submitted and I can like post it to the YouTube channel so if anyone wants to read your...
Sure, I have one publication already available in the website. I'll give you the link or the manuscript itself.
Thank you. Yeah. So for any of the viewers out there that want to read about, go in more detail about your findings and your research, you're more than welcome to do that.
And the other part, and the other part of nanoporous materials are the separation of rare earth elements. I have the fund from National Science Foundation. Rare earth elements are the 17 elements, 15 lanthanides, and yttrium and scandium. These guys are very important because all the modern gadgets, they cannot run without them. For example, this cell phone, it has almost all of the rare earth elements doing something.
Yeah.
All the electronic gadgets, military applications, satellites, they cannot run with the rare earths. The problem is that they're available only in the small quantities, and the other countries strongly control the export of those metals. And in other words, modern life is impossible without those elements. So one sustainable way is to collect those used devices. For example, when you buy new iPhone, you discard the old iPhone. If it is possible to collect those metals from the old phones and other gadgets in a sustainable fashion and enrich the metals, you will have a continuous and sustainable economy. So that was the overall goal. We used porous carbon and we functionalized the porous carbon with something else. And we saw that we are able to enrich a majority of the rare earth elements, if not all.
That's really interesting.
We have a publication also from that project from my master's student last year.
Oh yeah, whatever publications you got, definitely send them my way, and if anyone wants to go ahead and read it. I never even thought about recycling a phone. Like sometimes I'm just looking at my phone right now, and oh, look at this thing. It's like all metal. But have you ever looked inside a phone? Like
all the electronic stuffs inside, they are the part of the rare earth elements. Very small amount, but they're very important.
Even just the screws. Like one time I had to change a battery, and the screws in here are so tiny. Like I don't even. It's honestly a work of art, I think.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't even know how many metals are probably in there right now. Just like making that phone work and making our world work.
Yeah. For example, in the computer hard disk, it has the neodymium inside. That's also used to produce world's strongest permanent magnet, neodymium magnet. It's super strong. So once the computer is being used, it is possible to recycle the hard disk to recover the precious metals and recycle them again.
Where are the earth metals being deposited now? Like where are they commonly found?
I think there is no industrial or commercial way of recycling because these are still under research. But people are trying to come up to make the economy sustainable and running, because modern society simply cannot last without the presence of these metals. It's impossible.
Wow. Okay. So there's not even industry to recycle these things.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't think so.
That's really interesting. Well, hopefully that we figure that out because, well, there's a sustainable resource right there that we haven't even like
Yes.
unlocked
Yeah,
yet.
definitely.
So Dr. Shah, what do you think like some of your like, favorite moments are like as a professor? Like what do you think you look back on? It's like, wow, that was really cool when that happened.
At Widener, I can recall two moments regarding teaching and research. Regarding teaching, when the first time I saw the students, appreciated my teaching and teaching style, that's very satisfying. My first semester was not good because I was new in the teaching, my first time teaching. So after that, when I corrected and developed myself and the good comments came, they really liked, and it's one of the best moments. And regarding research, I wrote my first grant in my first semester, fall 2013, and I got the grant from American Chemical Society about another project, storage of natural gas, that was funded, and getting own funds in universities also very satisfying and memorable. So two distinct moments are there.
Yeah. And recently, didn't you travel to Belgium? Wasn't that before the COVID? You traveled to
Yes,
Belgium?
I traveled. I and two students went to Belgium in very last of February. I think right after that, from March, everything became very bad and travel was banned. Yeah, in that conference, one of the students, Colin Unsworth, he presented the rare earth element work, and the other student presented the separation of ethylene from the silver doped carbons. It was a very good conference
That's
in
awesome.
Belgium.
That's the one thing I miss, like presenting research in like other universities and stuff like that. And we can kind of do it virtually, but it's not the same thing as traveling. But
Yes,
hopefully, hopefully we're gonna get that vaccine. We're gonna go back to normal life.
hopefully, yes.
I'm getting the vaccine. I know that. Dr. Saha, what's some like? Oh, hang on, we got some ice going on. What's some advice that you give to like students, whether like they're prospective students or like just something that you say to like maybe people like that want to enter chemistry and chemical engineering? Like, what's some advice that you like to give?
Well, if someone wants to come to the science and technology, the main thing I would say is the very beginning that the most important part is the curiosity about all the happenings and non-happenings surrounding them. And very simple thing that's happening near them, and try to understand and generate the curiosity within themselves, I think is the main driving force to study science and engineering. Even the simplest thing, how a water purifier works. In a fan, why air blows in one side, not the other side? Those simple questions, I think, can lead to the study. Secondly, I think when people go to the college, I would say do not be afraid to see the difficult subjects, because some things may be very new, maybe intimidating, but you need to keep trust on yourself and learn from mistakes and continue your effort. You should be successful. And lastly, the old-fashioned way, there is no alternative of hard work. Wherever you are, work hard and it will be paid out at some point. There
Yeah.
is no shortcut way of learning on doing good things.
Mhm.
It's very general advice.
You got to be perseverant and you got to be a hard worker. That goes a long way. I'm gonna ask you this because you probably know the answer to this. I've actually never thought about that. Why does a fan blow cold air and then it doesn't blow air the other way? Like, do you know the answer to that?
I think that I can't give you a mathematical answer, but in a qualitative answer is that because of aerodynamics, the fan blades are carved in such a way it pulls, draws air from the back and delivers it to the other. If you want to know exactly how, I need to go to something called, I think, CFD, computational fluid dynamics. But the blades of the fan is carved in that way. It must pull air from one side and blow it to the other side.
Well, if you ever need interesting facts, please go to Dr. Saha because he knows a lot about a lot of things. He knows a lot about a lot of things, and he knows a lot of math equations. So Math is definitely one of his strong suits. But yeah, Dr. Shah, I want to thank you so much for hopping on the show today. It was excellent. Well, for one, seeing you, and two, just speaking to you. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, everyone.
Thank you.
If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll wait until maybe the end of spring semester. We'll bring Dr. Saha back on. He could tell us what their senior project group figured out about their results. But until then, it's been a pleasure. Alrighty, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Then you're left in the dust, unless I stuck by you. You're a sunflower. I think your love will be too much, or you'll be left in the